Hey guys, Danny, and today I'm gonna be comparing the iPhone 8, which I have right here, and the iPhone 5S, which I have over here. I'm gonna be comparing them. Say if you have an iPhone 5S, you should upgrade to the 8. I'm also gonna do an iPhone 5S versus SE comparison coming up soon, so you should definitely want to stay tuned for that. And I'm just gonna compare them in the specs and just overall differences and what did I notice in overall using them. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm just gonna start with the specs super quickly, so you guys can really know what the specs are on these, and you can just skip the video if you don't like specs. I'll have timestamps in the description below. So yeah, okay, the iPhone 5S specs. 1130. The display has an IPS LCD, 1136 by 640. It has 400 nits max brightness, which actually can take a hit in visibility. I'll talk about that just a little bit later. It has A7 chip, 1 GB of RAM. 64-bit. It has the A7 chip is 64-bit, and it has a max storage of 64 gigs. Not ideal by today's standards. The battery life on the iPhone 5S is a 1570 milliamp hours, which is super tiny by today's standards. But yeah, so it has a single camera lens, 8 megapixels, f2.2 aperture, 1080p at 30 FPS, max frame rate and max video resolution, 720p, 120 FPS, max frame rate and resolution. Also on the slow-mo vid. And it has 8 megapixel front camera. It has 1.2 megapixel front facing camera, 720p recording on the front facing camera too. And the generation and the Touch ID is first gen, so it is pretty slow. Wow, just unlocked, super slow. But the iPhone 8 has a second gen, so much faster there. But the iPhone 8 specs really quickly. Now let's go for the iPhone 8. The iPhone 8 has a Retina HD display. And also, did you know that Retina is actually a piece of your eye, like deep inside? That's pretty cool. No wonder Apple named it Retina. HD display, 4.7 inches. It has 1334 by 720p, by 750 pixels, and it has what did they have? It has I forgot the pixels per inch, but still, it's pretty good as be on the screen. It has it's an IPS LCD, 3D touch. It has a haptic motor, which I didn't really know existed on phones, but it's super cool. It has 3D touch, so everything will be nice, properly like this. If you go 3D touch, it'll be super cool. Nice little haptic motor, which is awesome. A11 chip, 64-bit architecture, and it has 2 GB of RAM, 2 GB. Wow, 1 more gigabyte than the iPhone 5S. It has 64 gigs starting storage and 256 max, which is pretty good. Then it has battery is 1821, 300 more than the iPhone 5S. So I guess the size might have been for that, but still pretty small battery by today's standards. And then for the lens, it has wireless charging also because it has the glass back. This case is super rock solid, but it has wireless charging, so you can do that. Max up to 5 watts. So yeah, or for wireless charging, it has a single lens, 12 megapixel main sensor. It has a f1.8 aperture, which is pretty good, and then it has 4K 60 FPS max frame rate, which is sick. 4K 60. Ooh, actually recording my iPhone 5S videos is still worth it in 2021 on the little link. There'll be a little eye up there if you want to watch that. And then it has 1080p at 240 FPS on slow-mo. 240 FPS. It's pretty good. A Smart HDR1 first generation because this has the A11 Bionic chip. It has 1080p front recording and it has 7 megapixel front camera, so pretty good. And then it has second gen Touch ID, which as you can see is lightning fast. Take it out of your pocket. Oh my gosh, what's new? Boom. There you go. So that is what you got for the specs. Let's get on to the real world performance differences. So as you can see, you have them side by side, right? You can weight difference is pretty noticeable. This is super light, while this is kind of more chunky because of the case, but still feels pretty light of the hand. You can still it's fittable in most pockets, definitely on my hoodie. It's fittable. You take them out of the box. What's the differences? First of all, it's the size. You can actually see this thing is actually pretty massive. Unlike the iPhone 5S, this thing is tiny. I can easily reach this with all 4 corners, so I'm gonna just go like that. Easily, super easy. From the bottom, easy. Anything is possible in this thing because this thing is super tiny. It's actually kind of smaller than my hand. The iPhone 8, on the other hand, is actually much bigger and therefore requires a little bit of more hand extension, but still pretty good. I can actually do it. It's super easy. Go into the corners. Boom. Oh wow. Oh yeah, I forgot. I've done it. With that, I can do this pretty easy. Still, everything works pretty well for me. The iPhone 8 is actually smaller than my hand. Actually, it's pretty cool. But still, this thing is 4.7 inches. The screen is laminated, I believe, and it is pretty good. The A11 Bionic chip is really good in speed. Everything just works super nice and snappy right here. It has iOS 14.4 or no 0.3. Yeah, 0.3. And it has, you got your little widgets right here. Everything you have is pretty good. It's snappy, works really well. They have your app library, really cool. And this thing, A11, works really well. You have dark mode. The max nits is 550, which okay is good, but still it'll take a little bit more of a hit too, compared by today's standards. Today's standards have like 800, 900 nits, so good, keep that in mind. Performance is still pretty good. Both of these devices support 1080p video. This cannot support 8K, so sadly, not support 8K. This can support 1080p, as I said before. So yeah, there'll be some little clips up there. Still, it still is pretty good though. But still, it works really well. A11 is awesome. Now let's talk about the A7 chip. As I said before, 1 gigabyte of RAM, A7 chip. It's actually pretty good. As I said, it's 400 nits of brightness, so auto visibility is pretty weak. Still, it's decent chip. If you have a really good Wi-Fi, like let's say Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 5, this thing is gonna be super good and fast. Still, it's gonna be awesome. So here, let me just show you. Just go to like Apple website just to show you how good it is. Apple, this whole thing is kind of laggy too. So there you go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, but it's pretty slow. But still, if you have a good Wi-Fi, this Wi-Fi is actually kind of bad right now. But still, if you have a good Wi-Fi, this thing will be super nice and fast. Also, it'll be pretty good too. As I said before, it supports 1080p video, so still 1080p, not which is still pretty good. It has YouTube dark mode, still supports tiny, but 4 inches. Would you watch a video on a 4-inch display? 4-inch display, wow. I would definitely not watch a video on 4 inches. If I have to, if I'm in the jungle and I have to, oh, I have to. What else? What choice do I have? But still, not ideal on display. That's it for displays. Now, and the Bionic and the chips here are pretty good. Still not much of difference. Touch ID is still pretty slow on the 5S. Still, wow, turn on to see. Okay, I'm sorry, but still, it's pretty. And the power button is up here. But let's talk about the design. This iPhone 8 has chamfered edges. I can't really get the case off, but still has chamfered edges. Sorry, and it is pretty cool. It is super good. It is super nice, and it works really well. As it before, and it's a pretty good design, as you can know it, pretty classic Apple. The 5S, on the other hand, has the super recognizable, iconic squared edges of the iPhone 4, 4S, 5S, and 5 and 5S. So, and also the 12 Pro Max and 12. So yeah, you can actually see it's pretty good. Grippable is awesome. The corners here, as I said, it's not that sharp. I gotta be honest, not that sharp. Just holding it like this is no problem at all. It's not sharp. This warning, iOS 12 is in, but still, it's not that sharp. It's pretty good. It has 326 pixels per inch, like the iPhone XR. But still, this thing works really well. As I said, design is awesome. You got your antenna band, SIM card, speakers here, which I'll talk more about later. So this still is really good for the performance and just chip and the design. So pretty good chip and design. So now let's get on to the camera. So that's where the 8 really excels. Unlike the iPhone SE, well, the iPhone SE actually takes pretty good video and photo at the same time. So it is remarkably good, really good photo. So here, let me just take a few test clips and I'll show you, and I'll post them in PIP so you guys can actually see. And like the photos here are from a pretty grainy environment. Like the photo might be a little bit grainy, but still it's gonna turn out really good and sharp. It has like the and the zoom in isn't really that far. I'm standing probably about 5 feet or 2 feet from the little the camera, and the zoom can actually barely reach the earn plus photos on zoom too, so you guys can see that. Still, it's pretty good though, I'm not gonna lie. And the video here, let me just post it right here. It has 60 FPS too, as I said before. Here's the video on 30 FPS. It's me. There's the iPad for my specs. That's how it is outside. Beautiful weather where I am right now. So repeat zone. Here's the iPhone 5S. Pretty good. Wow. So there you go. It's pretty old. We got this in 2016, so pretty old. Still takes pretty good. Touch ID is super slow though. Not gonna lie. Ugh. Wow. There you go. And there. So yeah, you can. And there. So yeah, you can actually guys see there. That's the video. And this has a 12 megapixel sensor set before f1.8, and it's pretty good. And I'm gonna take some selfies too, so you guys can also see how good those are. These things are really good. This thing rocks in the camera. Awesome. Also, it has live photo. So yeah, it also has the flash, so you guys can see that, but I don't want the flash. So yeah, I'm gonna post those right there. And for the iPhone 5s, it has an 8 megapixel sensor, f2.2 aperture, 1080p video, which I'll show you right now. And this phone actually kind of downgrades on the like when it's grainy, it starts downgrading a lot on the photo when it's super night. If you give it this thing enough light, this thing will turn off photos like an 18 megapixel sensor. Just like that, it's gonna be awesome. But for now, I'm gonna just take some photos with this. These are not that good, but still, will turn out pretty decent. For a selfie, it's HDR. The video, 1080p, 30 FPS. Here's how it is. Here's the video. It's pretty good. A little bit grainy, a lot more like lots of it. There's a little halo light right there, little you see those little things that's low there, but still pretty good detail and a low light. Here's the iPhone 8. Pretty good. Wow, not even focusing there, but still pretty good. Pretty good video overall. Really good, but a little bit good. No image stabilization, so yeah, it's a little bit down. And also, there's the video. Also, one thing to note. The iPhone 8 does not have portrait mode. The SE does, which I'm recording on, and so no portrait mode. But still, you can actually blur out backgrounds if you take photos super close, like I'm gonna do now. So like right here, as you can see here, let me just take a photo here. You guys can actually blur the background just ever so slightly, if you want to. But still, no portrait mode. That has the iPhone SE has that, which I'll make a video on later. So yeah, cameras, 8 wins, definitely A on this, definitely wins. So now let's get on to the battery life. So for the battery life, as I mentioned, the iPhone 8 has a 1570 milliamp hour battery, which is pretty weak. Right now, just standing by, it just lost 3%, which is pretty bad. The 8 just lost 1%, and its 8 is 1,821, so it's a pretty good battery. But the bigger battery comes from the bigger size. Of course, you can see the size differences are pretty obvious. See. And the 8 also has a camera bump when the iPhone SE does not. So keep that in mind. And the battery difference is pretty good. This thing can actually last about 2 hours if you have full brightness, everything watching a YouTube video, about 2 hours last. The 8 on the other hand can last about 6 hours. My grandpa doesn't really use this. Uses about 1 hour and a half every day. So I'm screen recording and see how much. Wow, doesn't really use it that much. So yeah, the battery life on this thing will definitely win. So this thing will definitely last you a long time, unlike the iPhone 5s, which won't really last you that much. Well, that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching my comparison of these two phones. What do you think is better? Which one do you like best? The design, overall, features? What do you think? And also for my verdict, if you have an iPhone 5s, you should probably upgrade like me and try to stay up for the iPhone SE or the 12 mini. I'll see which one I'll get, but still, the iPhone 8 is pretty good. You should definitely hang on to it until like the iPhone 13. Everyone high refresh rate. So yeah, it's still overall really good two iPhones. Of course, built by Apple, made really good, and still awesome iPhones. That's about it, guys. Thanks for watching my comparison, and I'll see you in the next video.